Good evening, everyone. How are we all doing? Welcome back to another live stream on the channel. Something a bit different today. Obviously, the past few streams have been very transfer related, to say the least. But obviously, we kick off our season on Monday night against Tottenham. So I think it's time now we go in depth on the Steve Cooper tactics and start to look ahead towards that Tottenham game on Monday night. Obviously, there hasn't been any other transfer news over the past couple of days, and that's probably a good thing because Leicester City, transfer wise, in the past couple of days, it has been an absolute disaster. Obviously, the Adam Hoslek deal officially, it's obviously now a Hoffenheim player. As soon as I ended the stream the other night, the here we go was done from Fabrizio Romano. But yeah, tonight we're going to be breaking down the Steve Cooper tactics, going in at his time at Nottingham Forest, really trying to figure out how Leicester are going to play this year. Because as of right now, I still think we are pretty unknown on who's going to be playing, who's going to be starting on Monday night, what the formation is going to be, what the main style of play is going to be. But I think that style is going to be changing quite a lot over the course of the season. But yeah, make sure to drop a like on the stream, as you always say, subscribe as well to the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the chat, and yeah, let's get straight into that. Into it then with phase number one. So this is how Cooper started off at Nottingham Forest. Obviously, this is going to be very much Forest related. Obviously, it's only time in the Premier League, so it's the right context and it's the only real relevance. So yeah, at first at Forest, he started off with a 3-4-3 formation. Now we'll get into how Leicester could play in that system in a bit. Obviously, this is how Cooper played in the Championship, and it did work quite well. And this style was very much possession based, attacking football. It wasn't just sitting back, as you know, as some of us have obviously said around Steve Cooper. Now, in terms of that, as you can see in the first few game weeks, Forest averaged a 43.8% possession, which obviously isn't a lot, but if you compare that to the rest of the season and later on, it's obviously quite high. And as you can see, you got 11.3 shots per game, so fair. I say that's fairly attacking for a team who's just come up into the Premier League. In terms of that, obviously Forest started off the season all right. They picked up a few wins here and there, but it did allow some teams to really get that to really get at them. And obviously since then, Forest did switch up their style. In terms of how Leicester could play in the 3-4-3, I'm just going to quickly get that up on the screen. If I can find the right one, because some of it's just gone all over the shop. So in terms of a 3-4-3, now don't get me wrong, this I don't think Leicester will be playing this on Monday, but if Leicester were to play something in that type of style, I think it would be something like this. So in terms of obviously Cooper at Forest, he had a few different players in there. Obviously, utilised the likes of Brennan Johnson out wide, especially this first season. He brought obviously Gibbs Whitehead, who kind of played off in, he kind of came in off the right flank. So there's flexibility in his formation. I don't think this one would particularly work for Leicester. I think it's very flat and a bit narrow, and it's got a lack of men in the two midfielder areas. But it could be an option to use in some games. When we go back to the final phase of Cooper's tactical stuff at Forest, he did actually play a 3-4-3, but it was incredibly defensive. And you could have obviously Ricardo and Christensen would come back here defensively. Winkston and Diddy as the sole midfielders, and obviously you got the front three. Obviously gone with Fatawu, Mavididi, and Vardy. If you want to be a bit more slightly defensive, you've got the opportunity to bring in someone like Deco de Reed for someone like Fatawu, who's obviously going to track back a bit more. He's got more experience defensively in the Premier League. I think this lineup is quite good, but I think the only thing which I'm concerned about is just the lack of midfielders, because most teams in the Premier League obviously play with a midfield three, and I just think we could get passed through. But then again, you have got the option again to kind of bring Ricardo in here and then shuffle over. But then again, that can create some pretty tough problems. They're trying to transition between formations in the Premier League is going to be difficult, because obviously last year we saw Ricardo go into midfield, and Leicester did get caught out at times a bit of that kind of transition between defence and attack. But yeah, that was pretty much Cooper's first kind of strategy in terms of getting results. He started off quite well at Forest-ish in the Premier League, but then it did quickly fall off a cliff, which is why I don't think he'll play that same way at Leicester. But anyway, let's move into phase two then. I'm just going to quickly get it up. Now, this is all from Opta. If you're interested in reading the article, it's just called Steve Cooper's Opta analysis in his first season at Forest. So I'm just going to quickly try and find the right one if it does come up. I believe this is the one right here. So yeah, phase two then of Cooper. Now this is where obviously Forest, just like I said, they started off all right. Then they very much, fell off a cliff, poor results, and Cooper wanted to shore it up. So he kind of went for a very narrow 4-3-3 formation to kind of patch up the holes, make it difficult to play against. But this then did give teams a lot of space out wide to whip crosses in, and obviously can see goals from that. And I think Leicester, in terms of defending crosses, it's always seems to be quite an issue. I think, with any manager we've had, we've always seemed to be quite open from crosses, set pieces, that type of thing. Balls in the air. We've always seemed to make a big meal out of it. So yeah, and obviously, just like I said, that very much restricted possession. You got 34% possession, which is obviously incredibly low. You're going to be having limited chances in games. Pass completions, it's pretty much the same, and obviously the shots reduced to 8 per game. So yeah, it's kind of that balancing act, and this is why I think Steve Cooper is going to mix it up quite a lot this season in terms of the formation and in terms of the team we play against. Because against Tottenham we could play very defensively. Then when we play someone like Fulham or your Crystal Palace or your Everton in the next couple of months, I think you could be a bit more expansive. So I think in training it's going to be very key for the players, because I think unlike last year, Leicester are going to be playing different styles depending on the teams we play against. Obviously, I think under someone like Rodgers, we did see that ish in terms of obviously switching to the back five against the top six teams, but yeah, I think in terms of formations, it's going to be flexible. Hermanson, Ricardo, Nelson, interestingly, Akoli, Justin, and Diddy, Winks, Buonanotte, Mavididi, Richards, and Fataway. Wow, you're putting some very brogue shouts there, but I like it. That could be the case if we get a few injuries. In terms of the formation, what that's a 4-4-3-3. I guess you're going for with that one, which I think 4-3-3 is going to be the way to go for Leicester. I think that's how we'll set up against Tottenham on Monday night. We'll get into that a bit later in terms of the tactics behind that, how Leicester are going to play against someone like Postecoglou, who obviously plays a very interesting way, to say the least. But yeah, obviously for Forest, that restricted them defensively if we get past all the ads, but it did make them harder to beat, which is obviously the main thing. Obviously, Hermanson's going to have a lot of saves to make in every game this season. I think we all know that. But switching to that obviously did reduce their XG, reduce their shots against by quite a decent amount there in terms of being much more narrow. So that could be an option which Cooper does go for. Obviously, this was their average positions, trying to play that more narrow shape. So if we relate that to Leicester, you have Hermanson in goal, the back two, whoever you want, really. Obviously you got Aurea as the right back, who's quite restricted. You got Nico Williams, who does push on a bit more, so you've still got that attacking, from out wide. But as you can see, this kind of attacking area is very centralised. It's very narrow. And yeah, look, Cooper managed to keep this team up. And honestly, I think our team's way better than that. You got McKenna, Cook, sorry, at the back. Czech Kouyaté, Ryan Yates, Jesse Lingard. If Cooper can keep this up, can he keep Leicester up? I don't know. But looking at this team on paper, it's like, are we any worse than that? I don't know. But that is how the formation was used. That was in their 1-0 win against Liverpool. If you remember that one, so it can work. Obviously, we've seen with Forest that year they did lose some pretty stupid games, but sometimes by some big scorelines. But so did Leicester that season, and obviously one stayed up, one went down. We're going to play with three wingers, potentially on Monday, yeah. Obviously, we're going to be without Patson Daka, who is going to be out for a few months if you didn't see the press conference from yesterday. So that is going to be a shame, I guess. Obviously, there's still no Jamie Vardy, but he's closer to coming back. Connor Cody is going to be out with a hamstring injury. I believe apart from that, everyone else is fit and available. Obviously, Cooper was asked a lot about transfers and whatnot. He didn't really say anything, which is expected. No manager's going to really come out and say anything on the transfer front, but obviously Leicester will have no new players for that Tottenham game, but hopefully we can bring some people in for the next game against Fulham, which is obviously a week today on Saturday. So yeah, but transfer wise, has gone quite quiet, in terms of rumours. Really, I haven't really heard anything for the past couple of days. But yeah, putting that one back onto Leicester then with that formation, obviously the narrow kind of phase two type of stuff. I think it could be something like this if this is the right formation. So yeah, it's kind of a 4-3-3 defensive kind of shape. I've put Decordova Reed in on the right just to add that defensive layer of security, in my opinion. So I think defensively could go back. I put Justin in instead of Christensen. I think Justin does provide better defensive attributes than Victor Christensen. I think the key thing to think about is the fact that I put Winks and Ndidi. If you go through the rest of the team in every single midfield, I think them two are completely locked in. I don't think anyone's going to get into them. I put Buonanotte in the 10 role. I think that's going to be his role. Could be obviously a bit more defensive, maybe like an advanced 8 kind of thing. And obviously I put Vardy to lead the line. So this could be one option for Leicester. I do like this team. Obviously, the players, the centre backs, I don't really know. I just put anyone in there. Obviously, that could be Cody. It could be Vestergaard, etc. When they return, etc. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, you got Victor Christensen as an option, and hopefully Leicester can bring in some more bodies, which should give us a bit more options in this kind of attacking area. Because as of right now, obviously our only real attacking midfielder is kind of Buonanotte, who is an exciting player, albeit very inexperienced, really, despite playing quite a bit for Brighton. But I don't think we know what we're going to get from him exactly. But we get into phase 3 in a minute. Let's get back into the chat. Thomas, Cannon going to play? I don't think Thomas will play. I think Cannon potentially, but I'll be very surprised if he did. Yeah, I can't really see Cannon playing. I'd like him to get a chance-ish, but I don't think he's ready. I just think starting Tom Cannon against Tottenham is just gonna. I think on Monday it could go one or two ways. Leicester could actually do all right, or it's going to be a case of we're defending, we win the ball when we punt it, and it just comes straight back at us. I think we need someone up top who can just kind of do something with the ball, and if you can kind of play it into a channel to someone like Mavididi, who's, in my opinion, got a better chance of kind of retaining the ball, trying to run past someone. I think that's probably your best option, but. Yeah, well, we're hopeless really in terms of going forward. It's going to mostly come down the wings and coming through the centre with the attacker midfielders. So yeah, Monday night's going to be a long one, but you never know. To fill in the gaps, yeah, but then again, I can't see them being involved much. I think Will Alvarez potentially, obviously Michael Golding. He played for the under 21s last night against Southampton, I think it was. So I don't think he's going to be involved on Monday night. I think Braybrook played that game as well, but I don't think Will Alvarez did. So we could potentially see him on the bench, potentially coming on. But I think that could be a stretch against that. Has Will Alvarez ever come on in the Premier League? I don't think he has. I think in terms of pre-season, obviously there was a lot made about the Mavididi coming on for Daka, but Cooper did say that was purely down to minutes, and that could be a cop out. But it could be true, I guess. But obviously Daka, if you're just joining us, is going to be out for quite a few months, so it's imperative that Leicester City move in for a striker. In terms of someone like Wilfred Zaha, I don't think that deal is completely over yet. There is a slim chance we could do something, but it's more on his side. It's more on his agent's side trying to get stuff done in terms of his tax issues. So if that can be sorted, there is still a slight possibility, but it's very unlikely. But I don't think that one is completely out of the woods yet. Obviously, there's been a bit of talk about IU in the last couple of days. That would be a poor signing, in my opinion. But as of right now, I'll probably take anyone. Think we could get. Yeah, I think we could get peppered either way. I think it's weird though, because part of me does think we may be able to just scrape a 0-0. I don't know why. I just think first game. I don't know. I think it could go one or two ways. Because if you look at what Leicester have got on paper, it actually isn't that bad in terms of the team. It's just because the recent years have been so poor. Because when these players joined us, we all thought they were good. We could fight for Europe with these players. So if you can get it right, it's got the potential. But it's just players trying to live up to that expectation. Anyway, let's move on to the third phase then. This one's very interesting. I don't think we'll play this system, but we'll talk about it. So using two strikers, which as of right now we don't even have one, so I don't think that's going to be happening. But anyway, we'll go through it anyway. If I can find the right one. I think this is the one. So yeah, phase 3 of Cooper's. There we go. So this was Cooper playing a very narrow formation, pretty much with no wingers. That's why I don't think Leicester will use it. It was kind of a 3-4-1-2 or 4-3-2-1. Obviously, Cooper used the two strikers and Chris Wood and Tyro Iwani. Obviously, one of them got injured, so he switched it back. But I'll be very surprised if Leicester play this formation. Now we're looking at this kind of section here. So obviously, this provided a bit more possession, playing the two strikers, restricted any type of width whatsoever, which is why I don't think we'll play it, because I think the majority of our talent really comes out wide. But this is a way to obviously push against the lower teams in the league. If you look at teams like Everton, Ipswich, Southampton, etc., we could play this more expansive brand against them. But I think the main thing to take away from this is the fact that Cooper could play anything. It's not going to be like last year where we got a stubborn manager who doesn't really switch things up. He'll switch personnel up, but not the actual style. So I think that's a positive to have. But then again, you need to be well drilled in each style, because if we're switching formations every week, first 2 weeks of the season, it's not going to work. So I think first 3 games of the season, you kind of want to play a more defensive thing. And looking at the teams we've got Tottenham, Fulham away, which is going to be a difficult game. They looked all right against United last start. Then you got Villa at home, who just picked up a big win against West Ham. So they're, in my opinion, all very tough games, and it's probably games where you're going to want to sit back really. I think Palace away, away. I think if you have Palace at home, we tend to attack a bit more, but away, I think they'll probably dominate the ball, especially under someone like Oliver Glasner. It's not like they got Roy Hodgson anymore. So I think Crystal Palace is a different proposition. We'll see how they get on. Obviously, that's after Aston Villa. Fulham's a tough game as well. Obviously, that's next week. In terms of that, it's restricted the crosses, even though it's gone up there for some reason. This is the formation I'm talking about. The phase through the narrow one. Just like I said, there's no width to it, so you're just going to get exploited out wide, which is why I can't see us playing it. If you look at this graph from here, from the game against West Ham, this is where they lost 4-0. So not too promising. You can just see the amount of crosses, the attacking play which comes out wide. And you can have as many people as you want in the middle of the park defending. If the ball's getting whipped in at pace, you've got 2 or 3 strikers who are reading the ball and get on the end of it. It's very difficult to try and defend it, and especially when you come up against the best of the best in the Premier League. You can't really do too much about it. So, in my opinion, it's kind of a case of that balancing act of having enough in the middle and enough out wide. It's obvious stuff, but it's interesting. Obviously, the way that managers try and do that, but I think Cooper, just like I said, is going to mix it up depending on the opposition. In terms of how that could be for Leicester, if you are just joining us, I don't think we are going to do this, but it's worth a shout to do. I think you'll be able to see why, because I think this is kind of, as of right now, with the players we have available, this is the way we play in this formation. So it's kind of all over the shop, really. Obviously, you got Hermes in the goal. The back four is whatever you want, really. You got options there. I put Diddy at the base of kind of a diamond. Gonna have to play Buonanotte as one, potentially tomorrow, but I think he's going to be on the way. I put Marvin Diddy as a 10 because we don't have anybody else. I put Winks here, but he's probably going to be more, central. Then obviously 2 up top in Vardy and Daka. So yeah, I can't see us playing this. I think the only way Leicester play this formation is if we bring in an absolute ton of midfielders. You're playing people out of position. It's just not going to work. So yeah, let's jump away from that one, because I don't think it's viable. Anyway, get on to phase 4 in a minute. Let's get into the chat. There's a train going past, so ignore that. Where were we in the chat? I think we're about here. Survival will be so great if we can get over the line with youth, homegrown lads, 100%. Yeah, that's true. But I think I'll take any type of survival at this point. If we lose, it's definitely going to get toxic. Indeed, it is. I think it could well get toxic between our own fans as well, especially at away games. So there's going to be that constant kind of argument between should Top sell the club, Rudkin needs to go, compared to, of stereotype, but it's usually the older generation of fans who will say, "Oh, Top's done so well for us, etc. We should keep him, etc." So, yeah, it's going to be that constant kind of battle this season between the fan base as well. And the fan base is split already, so that's never good going into the season. But Monday night, if Leicester can make a fast start, you never know. Shakespeare tribute, yeah, not allowed to get toxic. Yeah, exactly. Look, the atmosphere from the start should be half decent. Look, we did so well last season to get in. We should try and get behind the lads at least for the first 10 minutes. But obviously, if we are sitting back and not doing anything, I don't think there's much reason to do. Well, there is reason to do so, but it's going to be difficult to create an atmosphere and to try and do that. Maybe who we play Hanover. You were replying to someone else, yeah. Ethan, how we doing? Good to see you in here, mate. Yeah, that formation's from a different style for a different game, just like I said. So yeah, I don't think we are gonna be playing that, but that's a potential setup for later on in the season. But we'll get into the Tottenham game in a minute. Anyway, phase four, then the final bit of the season from Cooper at Forest. So this is how he obviously set up to get them over the line, to get them survival. Sorry. Obviously, they got that big win against Arsenal. I think it was 1-0. Now, this was incredibly defensive. You pretty much got two banks of four. You've got one kind of striker who runs in and another guy sits in. So, yeah, it's very much defend for your lives, feed us scraps. And, this could potentially be this could be, how Leicester potentially start on Monday night. It's kind of a 3-4-3 formation, which can obviously, it's very much going to be a back five when defending. And as you can see, possession in the final bit for Forest in their final few games, 27.2, which is obviously incredibly low. Pass completions low, shots are low. As you would expect, but it did work for them. So it could be a way to do things. It's going to be a very boring style of football. People will call Leicester boring. People will call us like Burnley. But if it works, it works, and it could be a way to do so, especially when Leicester come up against the likes of the Man Cities, the Arsenal, etc. You make 10 plus passes 2.8 times on average game. That's incredibly low. But then again, if it works, I wouldn't be against it. If you look at their average positions in the game against Arsenal, just like I said, that 1-0, you can see that it's roughly the two banks of four. Extremely narrow. You've got limited supply up front. You basically got two people up front who's going to try and get you over the line. But yeah, it's an interesting way to do so. We've seen Leicester do it in the past against Man City a few times. Obviously, we sat back the old game. We've countered, got a few penalties, and gets us valuable 3 points. So that is the final phase of Cooper's style, which he implemented at Forest. Now, if Leicester were to do that, this is how it could potentially be. So I've gone with Cody, Vestergaard, and Faz in the defence. Obviously, Cody's currently injured, but this is a potential for later on in the season. You got Ricardo here. Christensen, if you want to be that tad bit more defensive, you can play someone like James Justin here. Winkson and Dilly once again in here. Potentially someone like Chowdhury. If you want to go incredibly defensive, you could play Chowdhury here as well. Obviously, we kind of did that against Lens to be honest, but you still want some sort of supply line. So obviously gone with the kind of the front three of last season in Steffi, Vardy, and Abdul Fattah. So yeah, that's how the ultra defensive, if you're talking FIFA, could look in terms of Steve Cooper and Leicester. So yeah, there we go then, boys and girls. That is pretty much Steve Cooper's tactics done. I've gone through a load of things. I've sat on the fence. There isn't really there isn't really one tactic. It could be anything. So, but that's the flexibility he offers in terms of a manager. That's the systems. It could see Leicester being Leicester using this season, and I should say. In some games, but just like I said, depends on the team, depends on the system, depends on the manager, depends on so many factors. But I think the most important thing to do, if Cooper wants to be able to play these systems, we need more players because as of right now, we don't have enough to do anything really. So if one gets injured, let's say Harry Winks gets injured on Monday, we are absolutely stuffed. Because then who comes in then? Samari, Chowdhury. See what I mean? We need the first team isn't too bad, but we need depth as well. That's the main thing. We're not even getting depth in. I don't buy some random guy. I don't really care. At this point, I'll take anybody, honestly. But yeah, let's get back into the chat. And then just before we wrap up tonight, we're going to have a look ahead to the Tottenham game, which is obviously on Monday. We'll have a better look to that tomorrow night. But tomorrow, I'll be doing like a season preview kind of thing, just going over the summer, probably having a rant about the transfers again. So if you want to join us for that, feel free. 7:30. That'll be tomorrow night with a special guest. So that should be a good one. I like this type of football, but only with good enough centre backs, which are that's true. And it's that thing. If Cooper thinks the centre backs are not good enough, to play more attacking football, he's going to sit back. So, I don't really blame him. I don't really blame him. I'm really the one that backs the youth players. They are free. Yeah, no, don't. I think backing the youth is important. Yeah, but I think there's backing the youth and over backing the youth and playing them just because they are the youth. I think you need to introduce them slowly because if you stick them in the first team too quickly, they have a few poor games, their confidence is going to deteriorate, and then they'll end back up in the under 21s, and they'll be sat there thinking, I just got in the first team squad. Why am I back here? So it's I think you have to be careful with how you bring the players in. Yeah, that's true. I think Fatu, I think Fatu will track back, but I think in terms of Fatu, he is a bit of a pit bull. He's going to slide in and probably give a few penalties away, just like we saw last season. Also, got the red card at Cov as well. I think if you want a winger who's going to be more defensive, who's going to sit back and do a job for you, it's probably Deco Devereux. I think he's a good signing. I feel sorry for Cooper. Yeah, same to be fair. I think it's not too bad actually. It's another boring template, but yeah. Samora, exactly, yeah, exactly. But in my opinion, Samora just can go if you don't want to be here. Then like it's taking a bit of a piss now. You know what I mean? He's been here, done nothing really. Jumped the ship when Leicester got relegated. Now we don't want to be here. It's over. Loving the positivity, boys. Loving it. But anyway, we have the small proposition of playing Tottenham on Monday night. Yeah, this is the type of team we could be cut up against. Full throttle Ange Postecoglou ball. It could be a long old night. Now, this was their final game in pre-season against Bayern Munich. It was a 3-2 defeat, I believe. Obviously, the defence is quite different, but you're going to have probably Van der Ven, Porro, Udogie. I think they could be playing that new guy at centre back. I think he's Romanian, Ragasum, something like that. Midfield, Basuma is going to be missing for the game, so that is a plus. But you're probably going to have someone like Bentancur here alongside Matasar. So you got Madison there as well. Then the front three are probably Son, maybe Solanke up top. Is it? Yeah. And then obviously you got Brennan Johnson on the right hand side as well. You got obviously Kulusevski, who's a good option to have as well. So yeah, I think in terms of Tottenham, you've got Romero as well. Sorry, as the other centre back. So yeah, Tottenham play a very weird style. It's going to be a very interesting tactical game. They push they push so many people forward. It's unbelievable. I think we've all seen the screenshot when they played Chelsea with 9 men and they're still playing that high line, which does give me a bit of confidence that Leicester could get in behind. But then if you look at the centre backs, you've got Van der Ven, who's absolutely rapid. And you've got Romero, who's obviously not afraid to snap someone, to be perfectly honest. So it's kind of weird because in terms of playing that box formation, you've got the two fullbacks kind of come in field, invert both of them. So you got Paro, whoever's playing on the left, Poro, sorry, Paro, come inside and kind of make like a four with the two centre backs. Then that obviously it brings our players into the middle and gives the wingers a hell of a lot of space out wide in Son, Brennan Johnson, whoever it may be. Then it obviously gives Madison that kind of free role to arrive late into the box in that number 10 spot. Then obviously you're going to have Dom Solanke up front, who scored 19 goals last year, which is going to be a big threat, but potentially his first start in a Tottenham shirt on Monday night. So you know exactly what's going to happen in that one. In terms of their options on the bench, they made a few signings. Obviously, they've got Archie Gray in from Leeds United. They've still got Timo Werner. You got Bentancur, Skip, who we've been linked with. They've got him in as well, Mikey Moore, and a few of the youngsters there as well. So I think overall Tottenham are in a good position this year to really push on towards the Champions League. And I think if you're a Tottenham fan, you've got to be saying 3 points must be against Leicester, because if you want to get Champions League, these are the type of games Tottenham have to be winning. So it's an important game for them as well to start off quickly. Obviously, Tottenham made a good start to the season last year. I think they were unbeaten in the first 10 games or to November or something like that. So hopefully not a repeat of that one. The first game last year was a 2-2 draw, I believe, at Brentford away. So I'll take that right now if Leicester can get a repeat of that one. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Tottenham are a force going forward, but they can be got at defensively. Tottenham are very poor from set pieces. So are Leicester. But that is a potential option for Leicester if you want to snatch a goal. Set pieces, counter attacks. That's probably going to be our main way of playing. Tottenham are probably going to dominate the ball. When Leicester do have a sniff of the ball, we are going to get pressed incredibly high. And obviously last year, on the odd occasions when Leicester did get pressed, we did struggle a bit. So Yeah, it's going to be tough. I can see Leicester probably playing a few longer balls, which is going to frustrate fans. Some people will like that. Obviously, they get it forward brigade. But yeah, it's going to be tough. If Leicester want to get anything, we need to be having an incredible performance, and every single player needs to have an 8 out of 10 or plus. Herman's is going to be in action. We need Son, Solanke, Madison to miss a few chances as well if you're going to get anything. So it's going to come down to quite a bit of luck, but then again, you can create your own luck in times in football. So yeah, there's potential, but it's going to be a long night, boys. In terms of Tottenham, just like I said, the fullbacks nowhere to be seen in this picture. They're all the way up here. I think that just shows you everything you need to know about their attack. Obviously, you kind of got that box forming here. So yeah, Tottenham, yeah, fullbacks go high. They play some very interesting and entertaining football. I think Monday night for a neutral will be a fantastic game. I can't see it being 0-0. I think there'll be goals galore. Hopefully Leicester can grab a few goals as well, and hopefully it won't be too one-sided. But in terms of Tottenham last year, I don't think they really blew any teams away particularly. I remember them picking 3 points up, but scraping past teams like Sheffield United first game. I think it was like a 2-1, a last minute winner in that one as well. So there is potential, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see when Monday night does come about, which is obviously not long. Obviously, the first few games of the Premier League have took place today. Some interesting results. Obviously, Everton getting battered by Brighton 3-0, Southampton losing against 10 men. Obviously, Ipswich did lose as well. So the fellow relegation contenders all drop points. So it's a good start, boys. And we're currently not bottom, so which is good to see. But anyway, boys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you very much for coming in as always. Much appreciated. Just before we wrap it up, make sure to go and drop a like, subscribe as well to the channel if you haven't already. We're now well on the road to 5,000. So if we can hit that potentially by, I don't know, really. Just hit that whenever. That'll be massively appreciated. If you're watching back on playback, make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I'll see you boys tomorrow for the season preview, 7:30. It's going to be an interesting show. We're going to be ranting really about the summer. If there's any transfer news, we'll discuss that as well. Have a bit more look ahead to this Tottenham game. Obviously, go through our expectations and our thoughts ahead of the season, and kind of making a few predictions in terms of the Premier League as well. So make sure to join us for that one tomorrow night, 7:30. You know where to be. And then obviously Monday night we'll have the first matchday vlog of the new season, which should be an interesting one. But anyway, boys, I will see you then. Thanks for coming in, and hopefully we can get a transfer rumour as well in the next couple of days, because Leicester City has gone now quiet.